Voters don't plan on getting the shot, but White House Chief Medical Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci tells ABC's This Week that people need to get the vaccine.
Even if you're a young person who may not get any symptoms, you don't want to get infected. You may think it doesn't make any difference because you may not get any symptoms, but you may inadvertently and innocently pass the infection on to someone else who could have a serious consequence.
Fauci also says the CDC may soon issue new guidelines for the wearing of masks. Vice President Kamala Harris is trying to fend off criticism for not visiting the southern border. Harris on CNN's State of the Union.
We're working on the plan to get there. We have to deal with COVID issues, but I can't get there soon enough in terms of personally getting there.
Harris says she's been working on diplomatic efforts to deal with the root causes of migration. Many Republicans still believe it's the Biden administration's policies that are to blame. Florida Congressman Carlos Jimenez.
We need to revert to some of the policies that we had in the past. I mean, holding, asylum seekers on the Mexican side of the border will disincentivize people from coming.
Jimenez on Fox News Live. President Biden this week will mark his first 100 days in office. A new Fox News poll finds that 54% of voters approve of his job performance. But many Republicans, like House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, don't feel that way.
It's more like a bait and switch. The bait was he was going to govern as bipartisan, but the switch is he's governed as a socialist. If you're looking at infrastructure, it's the same as the coronavirus. Less than 9% went to the virus. Less than 6% in the infrastructure goes to infrastructure.
McCarthy on Fox News Sunday. America is listening to Fox News.
Your business is a rocket ship, but you've been grounded because you're still using QuickBooks, spending more time chasing numbers instead of growing your business. Get ready for liftoff with NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need to grow, all in one place, instantaneously. Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Louisiana's only Democrat-held seat in Congress has been filled after a special election yesterday. Troy Carter easily defeated Karen Carter-Peter. The 2nd District seat represents a majority black district in New Orleans and extends up the Mississippi into Baton Rouge. It was open after Cedric Richmond left the position to work as a special advisor to President Biden. Iraq's prime minister is calling for an investigation of a deadly hospital fire. Fox's Karen McHugh has the story.
82 people were killed, over 100 injured when fire swept through a Baghdad hospital Saturday night. Initial reports say the blaze was the result of an exploding oxygen cylinder in a ward of the Ibn al-Khatib hospital. Among those killed were at least 28 patients on ventilators who were suffering from severe symptoms of the coronavirus. Officials say negligence on behalf of hospital authorities is to blame. Iraq's prime minister fired key officials of the hospital within hours of the tragedy. The Biden administration's been in touch with the Iraqis and has offered assistance. Karen McHugh, Fox News.
The Oscars will be presented tonight in a show highlighting diversity in the film industry. Fox's Michelle Polino reports.
Please call me Mac.
Mank heads into the 93rd Annual Academy Awards with a leading 10 nominations. And for the first time, 2 women are in the running for Best Director, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. Those 3 films.
Free Talk Live.
We need to legalize the animal trade. The illegal bird trade causes the death of hundreds of thousands of birds. Do you know why that hundreds of thousands of birds are dying?
Why don't you tell me?
The reason these birds are dying is because it's illegal. They have to pack in multiple birds into whatever it is that they're transporting them in. And
one would think.
When they get across the border and they open up the package, you can damn well bet some of those birds have expired.
Yes.
So there's a certain percentage rate that just don't make it through. And that's where this number comes from. This hundreds of thousands of birds dying every year because of the illegal bird trade. Now, if it wasn't for the people demanding them, obviously nobody would be bringing them in. So there's people in this country that are demanding birds just like people are demanding cocaine in this country. So the idea that we can stop the bird trade is just as asinine that we can stop the war on drugs. We have a war on birds in this country. They just don't talk about it.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
crammed into tiny bar stools, cramped diner booths, and filthy cars where moving their limbs is either uncomfortable or impossible. Hundreds of thousands of consumers rip apart chicken wings or tear off bites of Heroes and hamburgers every single day, often to the point of bloating, belching, and outright physical pain. Barbecue sauce or hamburger juice will literally dribble down these poor beasts' mouths and onto their shirts, their beards thick with pungent grease. Treated as little more than machines to be stuffed full of smoked pork, marinated chicken, and dry-aged beef, consumers are forced to wait in long lines, often while still fully conscious, before buying their meat and ripping it off the bone with their mouths in plain view of other consumers. The majority of meat consumers are often prodded to ingest vastly more than their bodies can handle thanks to cruel promotions like 25-cent wing nights and family-sized buckets of chicken. Help stop the brutality by visiting.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is the live call-in radio talk show program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about anything that's on your mind. The show is called Free Talk Live. We're here 7 days a week from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you are listening to us on the radio, sometimes some radio stations don't carry all 7 days. That's fine. You can tune in to us at lrn.fm on the days that your radio station may not carry the show live. The telephone number you need to call in and join the conversation here is 603-283-6160. Again, it's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
I had a bunch of different show prep for today, and I rethought it all because I came upon this bit from the Libertarian Institute that really kind of hits home here in Keene, New Hampshire, particularly with the events of March 16th that happened. Those of you who may not be aware, we'll get into that in a little bit. But this is written by Jim Bovard, and it says, "The feds are coming for libertarians." On the day that Joe Biden was inaugurated as president, former CIA chief John Brennan announced on television that federal intelligence agencies are moving in laser-like fashion to try and uncover as much as they can about various suspected groups, specifically mentioning libertarians. Libertarians are in the federal crosshairs. 6 or 7 years ago, there was a lot of prattle about how the libertarian movement has arrived. I always knew that was hokum. Since then, there has been a huge increase in hostility to libertarians in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere around the country. Many libertarians assume they have nothing to fear because they are not engaged in seeking to violently overthrow government. But the feds will be able to find many other pretexts to target peaceful citizens with supposedly subversive ideas. Federal law already defines domestic terrorism far more broadly than most people realize. As the Oregonian recently noted, cases categorized as domestic terrorism include allegations of knowingly entering or remaining in any restricted government building or grounds, civil disorders and making threatening communications. FBI Chief Christopher Wray told a Senate committee that the FBI has 2,000 ongoing domestic terrorism investigations. Wray recognizes the terrorist peril as the ticket to a bigger budget. We need more agents. We need more analysts. And I know you guys weren't here yesterday, perhaps the day before, when we talked about the United States Postal Service
has their own police force that is now going through your social media account.
Correct. They have a law enforcement arm of the post office.
They've been having, I mean, that's...
Like,
oh, yeah. I mean, I have pointed out that Stalin would have wet dreams over the country that we now inhabit. I mean, the Department of Education has its own SWAT team.
Yeah, it's just amusing to me to make fun of the post office still because I'm 12, but...
I'm surrounded by 12-year-olds.
They do. I mean, they deliver the mail, and they're actually pretty good at that. Not necessarily from a price standpoint. They're not efficient, I'm sure, from a price standpoint. It's cheap to the consumer, but yeah, they do the same things. It's a government agency.
I used to make fun of the old military commercials when they would, put them on TV and radio. They'd be like, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, and I'd fill in with the fifth one, the Post Office. Just because I was a joker. Well, that seems to be prophecy now. Apparently, the post office is now part of the law enforcement.
I mean, they've had
agencies.
a SWAT team for a while.
Right, but they've never had a task force engaged in monitoring people's social media.
They've never announced it.
Well, okay, that's true. But also, why the post office? Like, the FBI's there to get this kind of thing. They just make it bigger, right? I'm sure the creeps in action. I mean, the CIA, have, something going on that's similar.
Because it sounds discredible if you say it. Because if somebody's like, oh, I'm being targeted by the FBI, people are like, they might not want to talk to you, but they're like, okay, that sounds reasonable. But if you're like, I'm being targeted by the post office, people are like, okay, you're insane. Like, what are they going to do? Not deliver your mail?
Did I not buy enough
targeted
postage?
by the Department of Agriculture.
Right, yeah.
Which sounds ridiculous, but again... Every department of the United States federal government has its own police force.
Yeah, a government agency is a government agency. This is how government agencies act. They're violent for no reason. Well, they're violent without provocation, and they go around killing people and stealing things.
This is true. The article continues. The Biden administration is itching for a broad new domestic terrorism law to enable even more crackdowns. Libertarians need to recognize how that definition of terrorism has already mushroomed. Capitol Police Acting Chief Yogananda Pittman, testifying to Congress, described the January 6th clash at the Capitol as a terrorist attack by tens of thousands of insurrectionists. Apparently, anyone who tromped from Trump's raging speech to the Capitol that day was a terrorist, or at least an insurrectionist, which is what, terrorist spelled with more letters?
I mean, it was a really poor insurrectionist. Like, you can't try to take over the Senate and say that that's not some kind of anti-government action. Like,
okay,
I would hesitate to call it an insurrection.
It was just a really poorly performed.
And I've heard this thing called a siege. And I wish it was a siege. Like, honestly, if you're going
on the Capitol, right?
If you're going to go this far, where you're going to break windows and go into this building where you're not allowed, where where any reasonable person could probably get the idea that, hey, the police will be coming after me now. Okay, at that point, you may as well, try to hold the thing. Make it a siege at that point.
Yeah, and it's not like a 5-year sentence versus life. It's like, no, you're going away.
Indeed.
So you might as well, they can't actually charge you with 3 consecutive life sentences. They can put that on paper, but you
only have one life. Yeah.
Well, you say that, but I mean, at the rate things are going now, they're probably going to bring people up on reincarnation charges and be like, nope, we're pretty sure you're this person.
You've got
another lifetime and a half here.
But you're still dead and not doing time. It's this other guy that they're picking up for absolutely no reason at that point.
Well, there is that.
So if you make Mexican food out of somebody who's reincarnated, or even like a cow or something, is that reincarne asada? The article continues. After the clash at the Capitol on January 6th, the de facto definition of terrorism seems to be, quote, anything that frightens politicians, unquote.
Yeah, what this whole article reminds me of was the former CIA director talking about we need to target these domestic terrorists and such, and even libertarians.
That's exactly the quote.
Oh, good.
That they mentioned.
Good, because, that made my blood run cold when I heard that.
It goes on to say, will we find out too late that the new de facto definition of domestic terrorist is really individuals who distrust the feds and own 2 guns and more than 100 rounds?
100 rounds is only 2 boxes.
I know.
That's not a lot.
I know.
I've spent more than that at a day at a regular range, not even like a good range.
Yeah, 200 rounds is just like an afternoon of fun.
It's 4 boxes because
50 in a box. I mean, you buy small boxes.
They said 200 rounds or 100?
100.
More than 100 rounds. So 50,
that's 2 boxes.
Yeah, that's what, less than half an hour of shooting time?
It is, really, yeah. I mean, if you go to a legit range and all that kind of thing, put on the headphones, etc. and so on. When we'll talk about another code word for who the feds will target, and that code word is extremists here on Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. More coming up.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. Local.bitcoin.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, come on and listen. Listen to this radio program. Yeah, you can even dial in and become part of the conversation at 603-283-6160. We've got a couple calls on hold. We'll get to those momentarily. Again, 603-283-6160 is the telephone number here in the studio if you'd like to join us. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
And we've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute that just straight up says the feds are coming for libertarians. And we kind of have a firsthand peek at what that looks like based on the events that happened here on March 16th. You can find out more about that over at thecrypto6.com. We'll tell you more about the Crypto 6 a little later in the program. But another code word for who the feds are going to target is the word extremists. And the Washington Post in January portrayed domestic extremists as a disease that seems to have taken hold in the nation's nervous system. Well, why don't they just make a vaccine for
And
it?
extremist just really means that you believe something.
Yeah.
Regardless of what it is.
Yes.
You want to be consistent? Like all of the time?
I thought an extremist was like, you know, a guy that, like, I don't know, skateboards or bungee jumps or skydives while drinking like Mountain Dew Extreme, right? You know, that kind of
But
thing.
that's extreme sports, some of that.
Are they not extremists?
I don't think so.
Well, they're extreme in their sports, so they must be extremists.
English is weird. That's not how it works.
No, but if you form a church around that, then you could be extremists.
Oh, well, I mean, I would even agree with that. If you form a church around bungee jumping, I'd be like, yeah, that's...
I'm a pastor at the Church of Extremism.
That's an extreme, insane person, but...
That's against my extremist beliefs.
Wow. We really carry things out as far as they can possibly go here on Free Talk Live. Let's go to some of your calls and thoughts. We've got, is it Ron in South Carolina?
No, it's Jerome.
Jerome? I thought you said Ron.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerome, what's going on? What's on your mind?
I just would like to know, how is it that the reaction to George Floyd being murdered by police is totally different than the reaction to that riot at the Capitol? Oh, and make no mistake, that was a riot, okay? Those people went crazy because I've watched that video
at the Capitol
several times. Pretend like you don't know what I'm talking about.
Well,
okay?
It was at least a riot.
I'll agree to riot. And one of the issues right now is that you have entirely different video feeds on the left channels and the right channel.
That's true. I've seen them both, and they are entirely
and they're
different.
all crazy, and they're both. I'm sure those people are crazy.
No, that's the weird thing. The one on the right channel, like you see the bit of them like going into the entrance, but you don't see like the breaking glass and all that.
But so
that's the Trump channel.
But this whole left and right thing is just designed to divide people, Jerome. It's not
That's the
designed
Trump
to
channel.
unite people.
They're not going to disparage their own people. That's the Trump. Those are Trump voters.
Of course.
He's the one that caused all of that.
Of course, the one channel is going to show one side, the other channel is going to show the other side, and it's designed to keep everybody divided instead of uniting against the actual enemy.
Absolutely.
Hey, that's just like Chauvin's lawyer. He put a bunch of people on that lied their you-know-what off about what happened, and then the prosecution put on the real case with the real video, okay? And what happened? He got convicted, which is what was supposed to happen. No.
Okay.
Hey, I guess he thought he could be like George Zimmerman, huh? Hide behind your lawyer, have your lawyer tell a pack of lies, kill an unarmed teenager for God knows what. Well, we know why he killed him.
I mean, he was a cop. He had good reason to think that he could kill people and get away with it.
Yeah, well, okay, all right.
What? That's what always happens.
That's what happens. I mean,
It seems to be the new American way, anyway. I mean, almost every day we cover a new thing here on Free Talk Live where a cop has killed another innocent person.
Yeah,
I mean, it is crazy how frequent it happens.
Yeah, make no mistake. The reason that he got convicted is because they didn't want the riots in that city. If there were not going to be riots in that city, then he would not have gotten convicted.
No, he got convicted because maybe he should have moved to Simi Valley like they did those cops that tried to kill Rodney King.
I mean, but they're all guilty and they all don't get convicted. So he was a sacrifice. They don't care about him. They don't care about him any more than I do.
He got convicted because he's guilty. And so are the other three who stood by and let him die like that.
I'm not saying they're not guilty. I'm saying the system doesn't convict based on whether or not you're guilty.
I just want to know that. I want to know this. Why is it that the people who knew nothing about George Floyd, most likely before that happened, they're up on the witness stand and crying, and showing how they were pleading for the man's life. And you got these 4 cops, Chauvin and his other 3 bums, on the, Chauvin, and Chauvin, he wouldn't even get on the witness stand. He's so afraid of what they're going to ask him. How can I just want to ask Nelson, how can your client be so damn innocent, but yet you won't put him on the witness stand? And then you're going to try to make scapegoats out of people on the crowd, trying to plead for this man's life. They were crying. This guy showed no emotion before them.
Jerome, how old are you?
Wearing the uniform.
Jerome, about how old are you?
64.
64.
64.
Haven't you seen enough of this? I mean, doesn't it seem like a rerun to you that the same stuff keeps happening over and over and over and over again? I mean, it's got to be sickening to you, right?
I saw this growing up during the civil rights struggle, okay?
And it's got to be sickening to you, right?
Of course it is. That's why I get so emotional about it.
Yeah. So how come you can't seem to identify that the organization that most people call government is really the one who's doing the bad things here?
What I want to identify is I hear talk show hosts, conservatives, like this guy Ben Shapiro, who said, "Well, it's clearly reasonable."
Ben Shapiro is insane and immature.
And other talk shows, well, what about black on black crime? Well, this was a white man who killed a black man for next to $20, but they don't have a name for that. See, they don't have a name for that.
Well, it's called murder. It's called murder.
No, but they don't demagogue and demonize other people like they do black people. I mean, it's bad enough we got problems, but then they demagogue us. And that's what I'm really getting sick of.
Is demagogue a verb? I mean, I don't know. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the call tonight, Jerome. We appreciate it. I keep seeing this thing going around on the internet, and it's supposed to be a little bit funny, but it's actually it's based in truth. And that is to say, if you have 21 cops, one of them is a bad cop, and the other 20 don't do anything about it, then you actually have 21 bad cops.
Agreed.
And one is a very low estimate.
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, people are like, oh, well, it's just a few bad apples. No, the saying is, a one rotten apple spoils the bunch.
Yeah.
The bunch. And I've said it time and time and time again, and I'm going to say it one more time. If the police really wanted to improve their reputation amongst people, if they're really fearful in their jobs, if they're afraid of what might happen, then stop arresting people for victimless crimes. If there's no property damage or no victim, then stop arresting people for victimless crimes. Get together with your tight-knit little group, spread the word, and stop doing that. Your reputation will improve immediately. 603-283-6160. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Karl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is. Free Talk Live. It's the Sunday night edition. The telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. We've got some calls on hold. We'll get to those here shortly. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Bigless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
And Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find all sorts of valuable information neatly organized to suit your needs. There's no longer any excuse to ignore this important and world-changing information. If you're already knowledgeable about cryptocurrencies, you can check out news.bitcoin.com to get all the latest headlines of all the news that's relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for everything crypto, like getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all in a very slick and easy-to-use website. please visit bitcoin.com. Again, bitcoin.com. We've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute that says the feds are coming for libertarians. And it's true. We've seen that in person here at Free Talk Live. And we'll talk more about that. But first, let's go to your calls and thoughts. We have Jill calling from Virginia. Jill, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I called in yesterday. Does that matter?
Not at all. You get a call today.
Okay.
Not only do we not mind, we like it.
I was calling about public education. I believe that government in itself is force, and the only justification for its existence is to protect people against force and violence and to punish Satan. This is its proper function. Anything else should not be part of government. Just about most of what government does, you name it, I'll say abolish it. And one thing I would definitely abolish is the public schools. Because one thing, it's not a police function. It doesn't protect people against force and violence. And number two, government education teaches thought processes, especially the education of children. It teaches thought processes, and that is one thing the government should definitely not be in charge of.
Well, your words are just warming my heart right now, Jill.
Government thought control.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I like to, whenever somebody says, the word public followed by something else, like public education or public works or public parks or anything like that, I just substitute the word government to make it more accurate. So it's...
Well, sometimes people say public place, and they're just talking about a place that deals with the public, like restaurant. And people have gotten those things confused, and they think that people who go into a restaurant are somehow, because it serves the public, it's owned by the public, and the government has a right to dictate to the owner who he must let into the place and who not.
Sure, but
I don't agree with that either.
Sure, but when you're talking about actual government-owned properties that are called public, it's more accurate to call them the government schools or the government works or that kind of a thing, because that's more accurate.
And you're absolutely right about it being thought control.
Oh, it certainly is. Yeah, it is brainwashing at the fullest. The U.S. public school system is based on the Prussian model to train obedient factory workers. This is where the classroom comes from, where you have all the desks lined up and in rows and an instructor at the front walking the people through whatever it is they need to go and work in the factories. It's not designed to allow you to think or make you think or inspire you to do anything, be creative in any way or anything like that. It is designed in its essence to spit out obedient workers. That is the Prussian school model that currently exists in the U.S. today.
The real clients of government schools is people who want low value labor and low priced labor. It's not, you're not going to...
I don't know that, because when I was in school, it seemed to me they weren't even teaching us to do a job. But what I do think of as for government, as for thought control, it can be just as bad one way as the other. When I was in the second grade, my teacher in a taxpayer public school would ask us on Monday if we'd been to church or not. My parents didn't go to church because they didn't believe in it. She'd ask me if I'd been to church. No, ma'am. She'd pick on me because I didn't go to church. I had no choice in the matter one way or the other, though. But I mentioned it at home because I thought maybe if my parents started taking me to church, the teacher would quit picking on me about it. My mother looked angry and said whether I went to church or not was none of the teacher's business. Which, while absolutely true, it would have been better if she'd said it to the teacher and not me. And that was bad enough. But nowadays you have it on the other side with all environmentalism and stuff, and people requiring books like Heather Tales, Two Mommies, and so forth. Either way, it's government thought control, and we shouldn't have it. We should have it turned over to private enterprise and homeschooling.
Absolutely.
Wholeheartedly agree.
And if you look at the problem that they were ostensibly there to solve was literacy rate. Now, if you look at the kind of books that people were reading before government schools were invented, they're incredible. They're nuanced, they're detailed, they're complicated thoughts. Now, if you judge the modern person by those standards, we are almost entirely illiterate. You can take college graduates, and the majority of them cannot take a complex piece of writing and draw a nuanced inference from it. Like, they can't do it.
Yeah. Something like 1 in 5, I believe, 20% of high school graduates are functionally illiterate in the U.S. school system. 1 in 5, 20%.
And if you look into
I understand, it was John Dee who took phonics out of school. They didn't teach it when I went to school. My mother had taught me before I went to school, though.
Interesting.
So that's how I was able to learn very easily. But I didn't notice they taught to anybody else in school. And I'd have to sit there and listen to those other kids stumble. And it doesn't mean that I was any smarter than they were, but they weren't lucky like I was. They didn't have a mother who taught them phonics. This is garbage.
Yeah, I agree.
You know,
and hey, thanks for the call tonight, Jill. We do appreciate you. Abolish public schooling. I agree.
If I could only abolish one section of the government, that would be it. I would abolish public schools before I abolish the cops.
Yeah, I mean, if there is, a wish list of priority.
Like if I had to pick one.
Yeah.
And I get rid of the whole thing, but if I had to pick only one thing, public schools.
And I reiterated this either last night or the night before.
I pledge allegiance to the Walmart.
I mean, or maybe the Federal
United
Reserve,
States of low prices.
And to the discounts for which it stands.
One checkout counter manned and the rest of them self-checkout. With, low prices and discounts for all or something. If you were subjected to 12 years of Walmart, Walmart's great, and Walmart this, and
stand up, put your hand over your heart, stare at this emblem, and repeat robotically your allegiance to it along with everyone else who is in a nice formation with you.
And I'm picking on Walmart. It could be like Vlasic pickles, or it could be any product.
I pledge allegiance to the Coca-Cola.
If you're getting that brand name emblazoned in your brain repeatedly, both through your ears, through your eyes, through your teachers, through, people inspiring you, your guidance counselors, all that stuff. When you get out of 12 years of that, you're just going to be like,
obviously,
I worship the Vlasic pickles.
It's inherently good. Yeah, and if you look at the foundation of this, you can go into the minutes of the Carnegie Foundation, and they were designing America to become a collectivist country.
Surprise!
And so they said, step 1, we need a war so that we can make these changes. Step 2, we need to change the education so that the changes we've made stick. And sure enough, they changed the education to be perfectly coherent with collectivism, socialism, that sort of system, and fascism as we have today.
Indeed. 603-283-6160 is the number here in the studio if you'd like to join us. Do you think that public schools should be abolished? More Free Talk Live is on the way.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening. This is Free Talk Live, the nationally syndicated radio talk program where you can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. We have a couple more calls on hold. We'll get to those in a minute. But if you need the telephone number, it is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
On March 16th of this year, a joint government task force raided the New Hampshire Bitcoin Embassy, the mighty Moose Mart convenience store, the homes of Aria DeMezzo, the homes of Andy and Renee Spinella, the home of Colleen Fordham, a grandmother, and perhaps most relevant, they raided the studio here at Free Talk Live. The 6 people arrested are known as the Crypto 6. They were mostly released except for Rich Paul, who's also known as Nobody, and Ian Freeman. Both remain in custody and have not been released on bail. We've been in contact with attorneys that say no crime even appears to have been committed. But that, of course, didn't stop the Joint Thug Task Force from ripping out wires from the back of our broadcast stacks, taking Free Talk Live off the air, and violating our and your First Amendment rights. You can go to thecrypto6.com and donate to fight against these charges. But as importantly, you can also contact media and tell them about this outrage. This case is likely to set precedent for the use of cryptocurrency well into the future. Please help our fight for liberty and financial freedom. Visit thecrypto6.com. Again, thecrypto6.com. We've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute saying that the feds are coming for libertarians, and we could talk more about that as the night goes on. But let's do what we do here at Free Talk Live, and let's go to your calls and thoughts. We've got Scott calling from Florida. Scott, you are on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, Captain, Mountaineer, and Melanie. I want to just say before I begin my broadcast, you're very courageous, all of you, and Nobody, and Ian. I pray to God that you'll be all right. I want you, my words aren't going to mean anything, but I want you to know that you've been railroaded, and fight the good fight. And we have an evil government. There's no other way to put it. And this country, if it makes you feel any better, and it won't, this country's on its way out. And that's my broadcast tonight. America's future is extremely bleak, and I'll elaborate what I mean by that. I don't know where to begin. It would take a lot more than this broadcast, so I'll make it short and sweet. Okay. Let's begin with this phony COVID-19. I'm not disputing that 500,000 Americans died. They did. But you know what? You don't decimate the whole United States economy over this, and it's never coming back. You got 70 million plus unemployed Americans. Millions more are homeless, hungry, and hopeless. Thousands of restaurants have shuttered their doors and never opening them up again. America's manufacturing base is non-existent. We've shipped all of our manufacturing to China. This phony pandemic has been used as a cover to take away our First and Second Amendment rights. Violent, vicious, and bloody race wars will soon ravage our land, killing many blacks and whites.
Well, what makes you think that?
Sorry.
What makes you think that violent and bloody race wars are going to ravage the land?
I'll tell you why. Because Reverend Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and Maxine Waters and Barack Obama is never going to be pleased. And if there's even just a handful more black men that get killed by white police officers, that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
I mean,
we haven't had one yet.
Yeah, like I agree that like the politicians and the propaganda are attempting to divide people. Right. And one of the ways they will do that is either through race or through classism or something along those lines. Right. You know, the middle class is disappearing, and that makes all the middle class people go, oh, no, well, we hate the rich. And it makes all the poor people go, we hate the middle class, and things of that nature. Right. And so, of course, those same things can be applied to race. I still maintain, though, that the one thing the government is indeed afraid of is all of the different types of people uniting against it.
Yeah, these illegitimate powers are attempting to stoke a race war. Absolutely. However, they have been completely unsuccessful up to this point, and the fact that they have failed so far indicates to me that they're going to continue to fail to stoke a race war.
You know what my dream is, gentlemen? This is my dream. I wish that all Black Lives Matter, I'm going to say it, it may sound ludicrous, but I'm going to say it. Black Lives Matter, Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, Klansmen, Blacks, Hispanics, put away their differences, their races, and attack the United States government. Because there's a common denominator. It is an evil government, and it has tried to suppress rich and poor, as you say, black and white, all along class and racial lines. And make no mistake about it, this government is on borrowed time because the U.S. dollar will collapse. It's not if and when. You've got a phony stock market, a phony Federal Reserve that's propping up the market. We're gonna have a depression. It's coming very, very soon. And the linchpin is going to be when the U.S. dollar disintegrates. And when the U.S. dollar disintegrates, all hell's going to break loose. Everything will collapse. America won't be able to fund its wars, oppress the world, and it will have to focus on its own problems. And I'd like to see 100 million Americans that are destitute, home. I don't mean to say that I want people to be starving, but when they're starving and they're destitute, they will attack this evil government and hopefully overthrow it. And that's my dream because I hate the United States government.
Hey, thanks for the call tonight, Scott. We appreciate you. Will all of that come to fruition? I don't know. I can find points that I might agree with him on. I think that the dollar is collapsing or continuing to collapse.
Have an expiration date.
They do.
Yeah. Now, is a collapse imminent? Absolutely. However, any time before like 2009, this would have been absolutely devastating to the entire planet. It would have killed millions, hundreds of millions of people. But now we have a replacement technology. I mean, we already have it. So, I mean, it is the equivalent of saying the telegraph is about to collapse. Yes. But we invented the telephone. So that's not such a big problem.
But there wasn't a bunch of people with that much of a vested interest in the telegraph who were going to kill you before they let it fall.
There is that.
That's the issue.
Right. That is the issue. The value of the USD, the FRN, if you will, the Federal Reserve notes, the USD being the United States dollar, doesn't come from any tangible thing. It used to, right? It used to be
oil
back.
is tangible, right? So
Well,
if you
okay,
just blow
but
up every country that won't take
oil
dollars for
does
oil.
not back the dollar. What backs the
it
dollar?
largely does.
No, it doesn't. What backs the dollar is the full faith and force of the United States military.
Well, no. If you had just the full faith and force of the United States military and did not have, for example, 40% of the planet's oil owned by OPEC trading exclusively in the U.S. dollar. If you
How
didn't
did they
have
get that 40%?
Right.
With the force and might of the military.
So it's a two-part thing.
It's an empire, and it is collapsing. If you look at history, particularly Rome, the United States of America is following an eerily similar pattern.
Oh, exactly.
To Rome, particularly with regards to the fiat currency. Rome started, they would chip off and shave off parts of their coins to making them smaller and otherwise melt them down and start adding different things into the coins and only coating a little bit with the, gold or silver or whatever. That was the actual or the original fiat currency, at least the first one I was aware of.
And the worst part of this for them was that they couldn't pay their soldiers.
Right.
So I think we're going to face the same thing here, which instead of it being an admixture of not gold with your gold, you're just going to have every price that's denominated in dollars is going to shoot through the roof. However, we have a currency that actually functions, that actually holds on to its value. So I think that the way that this could go well is that those the people that the human beings that apply force could start working for the legitimate currency. And the legitimate currency will be wielded not by those who profit through the destruction of cultures, but through those who profit by, profit, capital, the building of things.
Yeah, I wish it would go down that nicely, but it's not like they can't steal stuff and pay soldiers with that. They already kind of do that by paying them directly in housing and expense accounts for certain things, which is still denominated in reserve notes, but they could just give them food and clothes and whatever instead, and they can just steal it as long as they have the military.
More Free Talk Live is on the way. 603-283-6100. Hour number 2 is next.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Good overall performance numbers. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. A new Fox News poll found 52% of registered voters approve of President Biden's job performance. But not all of the numbers in the poll were as positive. Fox's David Spunt has details.
One of his lowest numbers, though, is immigration, with 34% approving and 52% disapproving there. Now, with a 46 to 15% margin, voters say that U.S. border security is worse today than it was 2 years ago. Now 15%. In June 2018, 28% say that it was better.
The poll found 94% of Democrats approve of President Biden's handling of the pandemic, while only 24% of Republicans do. Democrats and Republicans remain at odds over President Biden's $2 trillion infrastructure bill. New Jersey Democratic Congressman Tom Malinowski tells Fox News it's much needed.
We're talking about the pipes that deliver clean water to our homes. We're talking about the power lines that deliver electricity. We're talking about electric vehicles so that America, not China, not any other country, wins the race to a clean energy future.
Republicans say the bill will provide only a small portion of funds to infrastructure like roads and bridges. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul.
Apparently reparations are infrastructure. Apparently child care is infrastructure, health care. They've got, a climate police force they're going to put out, youth force. But I don't see anything that looks like they want to work together.
Paul on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures. Brad Keselowski has taken the checkered flag at NASCAR's Geico 500. It is Keselowski's 6th win at Talladega and first win of the season. William Byron was second, followed by Michael McDowell. America is listening to Fox News.
Indeed is the job site that makes hiring as easy as 1, 2, 3. Post, screen, and interview. All on Indeed. Get your quality shortlist of candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description faster. Only pay for the candidates that meet must-have qualifications. According to Talent Nest, Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined. If you're hiring, you need Indeed. Get started right now with the free $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through June 30th. Terms and conditions apply.
The Pentagon has expressed concern over the modernization of nuclear weapons by China and Russia. Ohio Congressman Mike Turner talked about it on Fox's Sunday Morning Futures with Maria Bartiromo.
China is doubling their nuclear weapons. Russia has modernized its nuclear weapons and is fielding new capabilities. And Admiral Richard is looking at an aging stockpile and a Congress that may be unwilling to fund what needs to be done. He's sounding the alarm so that as we go forward in this budget process, with Biden having asked for 0 increase in defense, that we fight for a nuclear modernization to make certain that we can deter our adversaries.
The Biden administration is increasing the U.S. military budget only slightly in the coming fiscal year, instead focusing on the administration's $2 trillion infrastructure improvement proposal. A memorial held this weekend in New York City for a hip-hop legend. More from Fox's Paul Stevens.
Friends, family members, and big names attending a 2-hour private memorial Saturday for hip-hop legend DMX, who died April 9th at 50 after suffering a massive heart attack a week earlier, likely connected to a drug overdose. Stars like Kanye West and Busta Rhymes were among the big names at Brooklyn's Barclays Center honoring DMX, born Earl Simmons in suburban Mount Vernon, New York. His 15 kids also on hand honoring their father.
Our father is a king. Our father is an icon.
His eldest son, Xavier Simmons. DMX sold over 23 million albums and also appeared in movie and TV.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgoristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agorist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar. and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agorist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agoristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agorist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agoristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agoristhosting.com.
The FAA has issued a reminder that any plane can crash and kill you. Deputy FAA Administrator Serena Grant.
This year, there will be more flights than ever. Any one of them could blow up in the middle of the sky without warning. That's why we're asking all Americans to tell their families that they love them before taking off.
The agency also released a list of important questions to ask yourself or your seatmate during your flight, including, should the wing be doing that? What is that whirring noise? And do all planes shake this much? They're reminding passengers that even the smallest amount of turbulence could mean you're headed toward a sudden explosive death. While hurtling through the sky at unimaginable speeds in a steel coffin can feel like gambling with your life, the FAA says there are ways to regain the illusion of control.
If you're worried about crashing, why not switch your flight at the last second? It might just save your life. Or kill you, depending on which plane crashes.
And for those who aren't flying this holiday, the FAA has reminded everyone that a plane could fall out of the sky right on top of you at any moment.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is the second hour of Free Talk Live. I'd like to issue a correction, if I may. It was pointed out to me that at the end of the last segment, I misspoke the telephone number. Not sure how that happened. It's sitting here right in front of me, and I usually look at it when I'm saying it, but I did missay it. So the actual phone number is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. And I, the Lord Reverend Captain Kickass, sit corrected. At any rate, it is Free Talk Live in the studio. I am the host, the captain, and joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
We've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute. We haven't gotten very far into it, but it does say the feds are coming for libertarians. And we can get more into that as the night progresses. But first, let's go to Pat in Michigan. Pat, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, good evening, fellas and Mel. I agree with your comparison to Rome. I've been seeing the same thing for a long time myself. And old creepy, crazy China Joe Biden there, he's printing us right into the red.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
so did Trump.
They rolled back. They rolled back. The IRS rolled back the taxes due by a month. Do you think they don't want that money? They can't keep up with the checks they're printing.
Well, the IRS tends to run in the negative anyway. They're not an income generation agency. They're a social engineering agency.
That's a fact.
Yeah. But as far as the public school thing goes, I'd like to see them eliminated. I mean, if we can't save the children, we can't save the country.
Yeah, that was the only, one of the only upsides of this whole pandemic from where I sit is that at least they got like 1 year where they weren't indoctrinated.
Well, and it's surprising. It's surprising to me that like a whole bunch of parents didn't go, so wait, this is what curriculum is? This is what our kids are being subjected to in the classroom as far as
a lot of them,
learning capacity?
A
and
lot of them
thing?
don't care. They just want free babysitting.
And a lot of them did. I mean, homeschooling doubled. It went from 5% to 10%.
That's true. I just thought that it'd go from like 5% to like 20%.
I see in my homeschooling groups, though, and it's really annoying to me that these people are even in these groups in the first place. But when they come and ask, okay, well, I'm homeschooling this year because I don't want to deal with remotes. And if I have to, stay home with them anyway, I'm homeschooling, but I intend to go back. So how do I do that? And it's like, I don't know, go ask somewhere besides a homeschooling group, first of all. But some people are doing that now because they're not getting the babysitting anyway, but as soon as they can get that free babysitting back, they're going to take it.
Right, right.
You guys remember that guy you were talking about last night from the UK, I think it was, that was teaching his kids about guns and Bitcoin and such?
Yep.
I think he should put his classes online. He might be the next Bill Gates.
That'd be great,
Let's get one of them
actually.
clowns out of there.
Yeah, there's actual like people do this all the time. Somebody comes up with a method of doing a thing, or a different way of doing a thing that maybe not everybody's aware of, or even with like cooking and stuff like that. People like video their own recipes, and they'll make sort of an educational curriculum out of it. They'll produce PDF documents and a YouTube video and that kind of a thing, and they'll put it all online for like a fee, right? And so this can all be done. Now, I've said repeatedly that since all of the curriculum subject matter that can be found in public schools can also be found on the internet.
If you wanted it for some reason.
Then the internet has made public schools obsolete.
Because you can also find on the internet high quality curriculums and curriculums that are based on more of a narrow focus and multiple narrow focuses, so you can pick which one you want, especially for high school and older ages. But you can get a much better curriculum on the internet for free than you can in a public school, and for not much of a fee, something maybe even more high quality than that. Take a mix of it.
Well, and if you were able to sort of check the box that says, no, I don't want to pay for public schools, and get whatever portion of your taxes is being taken away from you for public schools back, well, then you'd have the money to get the better curriculum.
And I mean, it's not that expensive. Some of these things are, $500 or $1,000 for a lifetime membership or something like that. And you don't, it's a lot of things in life are, do you want to pay in time or do you want to pay in money? You can also get, textbooks for not that much, or you can go, Khan Academy has some good material.
They do.
You can go to various, if you're willing to sit there and look for it and find it, you can create your own curriculum for basically free, if not for straight up free. It's not like this is going to cost you the $10,000 that the state is taxing you per kid.
Right.
It's nowhere near that.
Right. Any other thoughts, Pat?
No, I'm good.
All right.
You guys
Thanks for
take
the
care.
call.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks. Yeah, public school is a joke. It's a farce.
Honestly, you would get a better education if you just sent them off to someone who would make them dig holes and then fill in those holes again. That is as effective. That would actually be more effective than what they're learning in school, honestly. I mean, from what I have seen these days, they are not only teaching them, like they are not only not teaching them to think properly, but they are actively getting away from the possibility of thinking, like mathematics.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, 2 + 2 = 4 level stuff.
We did
Seriously, oh, well, that plus 10 is but if you take the new math, no, you've got to have this line and you go over here and then you go over here and that gets you close enough to the actual answer. Okay, so you're teaching them that mathematics is not exact.
We did an article last night, the night before. We didn't cover it really in depth. We kind of breezed over it a little bit, but one state is going to eliminate advanced mathematics courses until kids reach the 11th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when I was in grade school, we're talking late 80s, mid 80s, thereabouts, that I was offered algebra in the 8th grade. Right now, it was because I was doing well in math already, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to take this algebra?" Sure. I failed, but I took it, but I wanted to because I wanted to get ahead. I wanted to get, so that way when I got into high school, I already had algebra and I could move on to geometry or whatever was next. But now they're not even going to do that. They're going to wait until 11th grade to have any advanced mathematics courses. Now, how many children is that going to hinder?
And they're doing it in the name of equity. Now, pay attention. There are certain terms that they are going to use to keep brainwashing us, and equity is absolutely one of them. So equity as a word is actually a good word. It means fair. But they're using it in this way where, no, it must be equal outcome to everyone. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is one of the equity goals that they have already accomplished with the face masks. there is no longer the beauty disparity. Because there used to be this disparity of some people have pretty faces and some people have less pretty faces, and that's just part of life. No, no, no. No, we can't have that. Right. You must be precisely equal little clones of each other. So they've already taken that part out of it. And it's just one step after another of removing literally all forms of individuality. And this is certainly one of the ways that they're doing it.
Any thoughts, Melanie?
Yeah, I mean, the only way to get equal outcomes is to go down. You can't go up. If you could, we'd just all go up.
Right.
That's how you do it.
I don't like the way they're using the word equity. I also don't like the word equality. Right? And we've seen, what do you mean you don't like equality? Well, so, I mean, I'm not equal to myself. Well, yesterday versus today. Like today, I might be able to do something that I didn't do yet, or even worse, I might have been able to do something yesterday that now I can't do today because I'm getting older and all that kind of thing.
There is one good and important form of equality, and that's you are a moral agent. And in that sense, in that one way, we are all equal, and believing that is what has allowed us to build this civilization, by believing that there is this level on which we're all equal in spite of the fact that every other thing we are all very, very different.
Well, and I take that to lead to the principled view, of course, right? Once you start having a principled view, you begin to, hopefully treat others as you would have yourself be treated. So 603-283-6160.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Yes, please. It is Free Talk Live, the live radio call-in talk program where you can take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever's on your mind. The telephone number to join us in studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
And we have been talking, well, we should probably resume talking about this bit from the Libertarian Institute that says the feds are coming for libertarians. And so another code word for who the feds are going to target is extremists. In January, they portrayed domestic extremists as a disease that seems to have taken hold of the nation. Is extremism a disease, you guys?
Well, as near as I can tell, so I have this wacky idea that the United States should not just bomb whoever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason they want.
What?
And clearly that makes me an extremist.
That makes you an extremist.
I mean, I think I'm considered an extremist by pretty much anybody, even other community members. So
even within the libertarian
I think
community,
so.
You think they're like, Melanie's really extreme.
Although I've been living in Manchester, so I don't know. Maybe in Keene they feel less that way, but
it's hard to tell. I don't know. I
think I'm still considered. I mean, I'm willing to talk about things other people in the community aren't, even if they agree with me secretly.
Well,
or non-publicly. If it was secretly, I would have never known about it, right? But non-publicly.
I think that the extreme position is the one that opposes freedom. Freedom is not extreme. Any opposition to freedom is extreme, in my opinion.
Well, anything except the middle of the spectrum is extreme, I think. Extreme doesn't mean bad and evil.
Right.
It just means, a more pure position. So authoritarianism is extreme. Anarchy is extreme. Democratic socialism is a moderate position in that way.
I don't know that anarchy is extreme. I think anarchy is just the way things naturally occur. Like anarchy is most things most times in your life, right? Like it exists. And then there's this group of people who've got guns and badges and, that type of thing who want to do bad stuff to you.
But they have popular support.
They do.
So it's not an unpopular position to support that. You're on a fringe. You're on an.
In comparison to the general population, yes, that would be an extreme position. But.
And it's a double whammy, too, because they keep slowly but surely shifting the entire culture further and further into authoritarianism. So what was a very authoritarian position, what used to be an extremist authoritarian position is now centrism.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, can you believe these people would want to do away with the Department of Education? Well, there was a time where thinking that you should round up literally every single individual in this geographical region between these age groups and force them to sit down and shut up and listen to what you say was
extreme.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to this article, last fall, FBI boss Ray, W-R-A-Y, told Congress that among the underlying drivers for domestic violent extremism are perceptions of government or law enforcement overreach.
Quit overreaching then. Even by your own standards.
Well, if you see it, then that makes you an extremist.
Libertarians are practically defined by their perception of government as overreaching. After the January 6th clash, Ray portrayed more bursts as proof of FBI busts, as proof of FBI triumphs.
Those are mostly Republicans, though.
I know. The more of the arrests that you see, well, that's obviously good news for everybody that we're arresting people who need to be arrested. Like, well, that doesn't even.
Good thing they weren't good at taking over the Capitol, because this was months ago.
And this isn't even a coherent sentence that he said.
And I do want to point out that, like, there is a very subtle use of this word domestic. So, like, if someone says, "Oh yeah, they had a domestic 2 doors down," it's domestic abuse. So, like, there's already this sort of seeded idea of, oh, well, it's a domestic, and that implies
domestic
violence.
Extremism.
Right. So the way that they're using this already, like, it puts you on their side. It puts you in a fear mode before they even get to extremist.
Yep, agreed. In the coming years, the feds may treat libertarians like Muslims were treated after 9/11. Any new crackdown on terrorism will turn into a numbers game in which justice and fair play don't have a snowball's chance in hell. Between 2001 and 2006, federal prosecutors charged 10 times as many people in terrorism investigations as they convicted on terrorism-related charges. President Bush declared in 2005 that federal terrorism investigations have resulted in charges against more than 400 suspects, and more than half of these charged have been convicted. But only 39 people were convicted on crimes tied to terrorism or national security, a Washington Post analyst found.
So 90% of the time they're full of it when they charge these people with terrorism-related charges.
Excellent summary. Entrapment opened the floodgates to federal terrorism indictments. Trevor Aronson, author of The Terror Factory, Inside the FBI's Manufactured War on Terrorism, estimated that only about 1% of the 500 people charged with international terrorism offenses in the decade after 9/11 were bona fide threats. 30 times as many were induced by the FBI to behave in ways that prompted their arrest. In other words, the FBI was goading these people into their behaviors for which they were then arrested. In 2006, the FBI fabricated a terror scheme by the Liberty City Seven, where an informant encouraged a bunch of dimwits in Florida to babble about blowing up government buildings. That group was so knuckleheaded that they asked the FBI informant for military uniforms and wanted to conduct a parade.
Well, at least they've got showmanship. But seriously, this is a very, very common tactic that they will get people who are upset about something. They will put one of their people in there, and slowly but surely they will encourage them to get further and further and further until they start planning something violent. Which, okay, if you didn't round these people up at that point, you have just created terrorists inside your own country.
Yes. And few Americans recognize how badly the legal playing field is tilted against them. When FBI agents knock on their doors, many Americans will not hesitate to open up because they assume those who have nothing to hide have nothing to fear. But the FBI is exploiting a sweeping law that criminalizes casual comments. Federal agents have the right to lie to you and to put you in prison if you lie to them. Any citizen who makes even a single word, yes or no, false utterance to a federal agent faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. 603-283-6160. Do you think the feds are coming for libertarians? More Free Talk Live on the way. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
This is The Onion Week in Review. A report released this week by the Brookings Institution found that the U.S. currently has enough chairs and that there is no urgent need to produce any new ones for the time being. Researchers confirmed through overwhelming evidence that there is absolutely no shortage of chairs, citing in their findings the sheer number of armchairs, folding chairs, bar stools, Adirondack chairs, swivel chairs, lazy boys, and rocking chairs already in existence.
Our research shows that even in a place where there seems not to be enough chairs, a quick investigation will find one or two chairs just over in the next room. Basically, as far as chairs go, I'd like to reiterate that we have a very good number of them and could just use those.
And in this week's local news, the guy in front of you is ordering for an entire construction crew. In other news, a local police department reduces costs by using the same evidence for every investigation. Voters are clamoring to hear if a female political candidate is a mother first, and a whitewater rafting trip in which a friend drowned is still pretty fun.
This is the Onion News Network.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the nationally syndicated radio program where you can call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. The telephone number to do so is 603-283-6160. 6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Beakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
We've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute that says the feds are coming for libertarians. And this would seem to be very true. They've already come and taken 6 people from New Hampshire, known as the Crypto Six. And in fact, on March 16th, 2020, government agencies conspired together and raided the Free Talk Live studio, the Bitcoin Embassy, and the homes of Aria DiMezzo, Renee and Andy Spinella, and Colleen Fordham. The Crypto Six were then arrested and taken into custody. Ian Freeman and Nobody, formerly known as Rich Paul, both remain in custody. What can you do to help? Well, you can check out thecrypto6.com. There are multiple ways in which you can donate to their legal defense fund because these charges are not a joke. It's going to take serious legal teams and many experts to protect the Crypto Six from further aggression from the state. This case is quite likely to set precedent that will affect the world of cryptocurrency for decades to come. Help them in their fight for liberty and financial freedom by contributing to their legal defense fund at thecrypto6.com. One more time, thecrypto6.com. So this article was talking about how any citizen who makes even a single word false utterance to a federal agent faces up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine, which sounds pretty bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it gets worse. You don't actually have to lie. FBI agents can fabricate the sentences they use to hang you. Unlike most law enforcement agencies, the FBI rarely videotapes interviews, thereby permitting agents to create the narrative or, quote, facts, unquote, which then can be used to charge individuals with false statements. Instead of a transcript, an FBI agent writes up a memo a day or two later, asserting what
After they
you
forgot
said.
it, yeah.
Yeah. FBI agents have been taught that subjects of FBI investigations have fortified their right to the truth, which helps explain the vast increase in federal entrapment operations. Yeah. How crazy is that? That, like, you're supposed to be a law enforcement agency, and then, like, a couple days after the interview, they can just write up a memo and go, well, this is what he said.
If you want me to write back to you a conversation that happened 2 days ago, I'm not going to be able to do it word for word.
Right.
Serves you right for being subject of an investigation.
Well, and then how about, like, the guy who's trying to climb the ladder and get promoted and that kind of a thing and discovers, oh, I can just say whatever I want? Oh, here, let me write down some words. Look, this guy's been convicted. I get another notch in my belt, and I'm one step closer to my goal. Ha, 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 ha. Psychopaths, all of them. We can continue talking about this, but first, let's go to Dave calling from Washington. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, y'all. Well, I guess I'm going to have to punt to tomorrow or the next day my main topic because I was going to hit on a couple of things you guys were just talking about in the last 10 minutes or so. I sort of agree with the education, getting rid of the Department of. However, I think that it would just further divide the country. We're sort of that way anyway. But if you just had all education was, just public or charter type schools or church schools, you would basically just have a situation where parents decided which school they wanted to try and send their kids to based on if they were a liberal-leaning school or a conservative school, maybe a libertarian-type school, but I think it would mainly be conservative and liberal, and you would just further indoctrinate people into one side or the other.
So don't you think, Dave,
we already have.
Dave, don't you think that some people anyway would base what school they sent their children to on the outcome of other students that they've taught?
I would love to think that, but unfortunately, I don't think we're not getting just
Are you a
reading
parent?
and writing and arithmetic out of school anymore. We're getting a lot of political opinions.
Dave, are you a parent?
I am not, but I have a lot of relatives who have kids, and I've kind of watched the school system around them.
So imagine with me that you were a parent. Wouldn't you want the best outcome for your child?
Exactly.
Okay, well, so wouldn't the way to get that be to look at the outcomes of a given school and then decide on that?
I mean, but what
I completely
what
agree
are
with
the
that.
outcomes? The outcomes isn't just average salary at graduation. The outcome also is what kind of person do I want to turn out.
Exactly.
So,
and also, I mean, you did hit on the fact that, yes, some people would send their kids to a libertarian school. Now, right now, we are divided on this left-right nonsense. However, all of the left and the right are authoritarian.
but I still think that that's better than having only the position of the state. Although you still have more conservative areas and more leftist areas, and it's not like every government school teaches the exact same thing ideology-wise. So we still have that division anyway, but then now it would be a private division as opposed to a government division, and I think that you would see a lot more people decide to raise their own kids, which is the ideal outcome to me.
I mean, people...
That would be the ideal outcome for me too. If people did, but the problem there is you need parents that are, adequately able, like especially with some of the concepts like mathematics. I mean, I know I could teach my kid all the way up through calculus, but a lot of parents could not. And so that's where you get. And the problem, like when you said, not all public schools teach the same. Unfortunately, they do quite often teach very similar because they have a doctrine of certain, things that they are required to teach that goes sort of nationwide. So there is a bit of a doctrine that you do get from public education.
Well, from a curriculum standpoint, that might be true, but from an ideology standpoint, you have far leftist schools, moderate schools, right-wing schools, far-right schools.
And people are already doing what you think would be a problem in that case. It's just that they're doing it by choosing to live in this school district over that school district. So if you are very, very left, you're going to be comfortable going to a school district in California and not so comfortable going to a school district in Florida or Texas.
And the thing about the quality of the education, so maybe some parents would not be able to teach what you would consider an acceptable quality, but that's not what we have to compare it to, because their option isn't what they can do or you. Their option is what they can do or the state school. And no matter how, I'm sure that there are a handful of people who are more incompetent than the state school, but they're being subsidized. So if you take that away, you solve that problem. How many people do you think are more incompetent at the state than the state school who is trying to fail? Because they don't want educated people who think.
Who is more incompetent? That's a tricky question. But side note slightly, when you guys were talking about domestic extremism and terrorism, I just say that is in the eye of the beholder, obviously, that whoever is in power views those who are not in power, who are upset with whatever their doctrine is, that are maybe rising up and burning cars or this or that. Those are extremists and domestic terrorists, because they don't agree with their mantra.
No, I got to push back on you there. No, whether they get the label is absolutely in the eye of the beholder, and it will be assigned according to their biases and beliefs. But no, there is an actual idea of if you use terror, if you use fear, intimidation, threats to bring about political changes, that's what a terrorist is. Now, if you
see the narrative, like you were saying, a lot of times on the left in the media, if someone is doing that, like we saw all last summer, what was going on in Portland and Minnesota, all over the place, and it would be, mostly peaceful protests. No one would call them out for what they were. They wanted to make it sound nicer than it was because it agreed with their mantra, and that's sort of the leading mantra. That's what I'm trying to say.
Hey, Dave, thanks for the call tonight. We appreciate it. Have either of you guys seen these commercials for these tutoring agencies? Like, kids can't even get through public school, without additional help. And parents are paying for, it's like Sylvan Learning Center, and there's a couple other ones that I can't remember off the top of my head. But parents are paying for private tutors to get kids through public schools. That's ludicrous.
That's a fair
Well, obviously
complaint.
they need lower standards.
More Free Talk Live is on the way. 603-283-6160.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government, and maybe they'll help. Or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com. You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening tonight. It is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. The telephone number, if you'd like to call in and join the conversation, is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
We've been talking about this article from the libertarianinstitute.org that says the feds are coming for libertarians. And we've certainly seen that firsthand here in Keene, New Hampshire, here at the Free Talk Live studios, over at the Bitcoin Embassy, over at the mighty Moose Mart convenience store of all places. Yeah, they're definitely coming. This is interesting, if the FBI showed up at your door, they might have already accessed every email and text message you sent in recent years. They may have vacuumed all your social media activity. Those private Facebook messages you sent, They may have also accessed all of your credit card and other financial data, including banks. And the FBI may have already interrogated other people to squeeze out accusations against you that they can throw in your face. Then they launch into a game of 20 questions, with a federal indictment awaiting if they claim you answered untruthfully. I mean, this is a setup from the get.
Mm-hmm.
This technique is a setup. You're being railroaded when they use these techniques.
Well, and they have every incentive in the world to not to find the truth, but to convict you.
Well, and don't talk to the police. This includes the police, the FBI, I guess
ATF.
You don't usually talk to any alphabet agency. Don't talk to them.
I mean, I will hedge in as far as like when I get pulled over, there is definitely a period of conversationality where I will hope that they don't ticket me.
It's usually like Q&A. They'll come up and be like license and registration, and then you got to show your papers.
Right.
That type of a thing.
So as far as that goes, I hate to break the rule, but that is as far as I will talk to police.
Well,
and
okay,
even that is dangerous.
And in some states, you're required to answer certain questions. In some states, you're required to answer your name. In some states, you're even required to answer where you're going and coming from, although I'm not sure that one's constitutional. But, do you really want to fight that? Well, it depends on where you're going and coming from, I guess. But don't go in for an interview.
Right, yeah. And I think
don't just chat.
What's the other one that like if you want to exercise your right to remain silent, you have to voice it?
Yeah, which is there's all kinds of case law on that, and it's
like
schizophrenic.
Nice catch 22 there.
Yeah, it's like I am exercising my right to remain silent by not being silent.
But yeah, I mean, and you can ask a lawyer this, but no one who has ever spoken to the police has ever done themselves any favors.
That's true.
And they will use what you say against you,
and
whether or not you are guilty.
And what you say that makes it look like you're innocent or indicate anything that indicates your innocence is non-admissible.
Right.
And they will also use what you say in case you're like, well, I'm not so worried about me. They will use what you say to put innocent people in jail.
Now, the politicians in Washington don't see such abuses as a problem. Go figure. Instead, they are in a grand opportunity to smite people who don't kowtow. It wasn't that long ago, in the final 15 years or so of J. Edgar Hoover's reign, that the FBI became America's thought police. The FBI's COINTELPRO program conducted thousands of covert operations to incite street warfare between violent groups, to get people fired, to portray innocent people as government informants, to destroy marriages with poison pen letters, and to cripple or destroy leftist, black, white, racist, and anti-war organizations. A 1976 Senate report warned, the American people need to be assured that never again will a federal agency be permitted to conduct a secret war against those citizens it considers threats to the established order. But legal and administrative restrictions on the FBI evaporated in the post-9/11 panic, resulting in pervasive abuses of Americans' rights. The FBI now operates with near total impunity. The same is true of many state and local police departments who may be hungering for new federal subsidies to crack down on the extremist peril. How might this play out in the daily lives of people guilty of entertaining libertarian ideas? Well, consider Duncan Lemp, a 21-year-old Maryland man who was shot to death in a pre-dawn raid in March 2021 after police smashed in his bedroom window and tossed flashbang grenades into his bedroom. Lemp was active on Twitter and liked several tweets by Libertarian presidential candidate John McAfee. Lemp's last tweet declared, "The Constitution is dead." 2 months later, so was Duncan Lemp.
Quick correction, they got their fact wrong. It was 2020, not 2021.
You are correct on that. Yep. The Montgomery County, Maryland government later admitted that Lemp was targeted in part because he was, quote, anti-government and anti-police,
So they just had
unquote.
to prove him right?
Yeah. That's all they're doing. Like, if I'm over here going, hey, you know, the government sucks and police sucks, and then they show up and they proceed to suck by, you know, bashing in my windows, throwing flashbang, killing me, ending my whatever it is, right? Where I've harmed nobody, right? Then yeah, they.
What did you do to nobody?
Nobody.
Oh.
God, Jesus.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry, a little levity seemed reasonable, but
Yeah,
no, I
no,
mean
it's
seriously, you
good.
have someone saying the government and the police are targeting innocent people, and lo and behold, they shoot you through your window while you're sleeping in bed. That is what happened to Duncan Lemp.
Yeah. Lemp was outspoken about his support of the Second Amendment, and he posted photos of himself with guns on Instagram. Ooh. Police saw one such photo and concluded that Lemp possessed a semi-automatic rifle that was illegal to own in Maryland. After they killed him and searched the Lemp home, they realized they had misidentified the firearm. It was legal, but police, prosecutors, and local politicians treated that like a harmless paperwork error. Nobody cared about the wrongful killing of Duncan Lemp. Well, that's not true. We covered Duncan Lemp extensively here on Free Talk Live.
Whoops-a-doodle.
But yeah.
Wrong gun.
Yeah, oops.
I thought you might have been breaking this teeny little restriction, and you weren't. Sorry about killing you over it.
Oopsie. The police case against Lemp also came from accusations from one or more confidential informants. Lemp trusted people who betrayed him to the police, allegedly with false accusations, according to Lemp family lawyer Renee Sandler. A month after Lemp was killed, activists held a protest at Montgomery County Police Headquarters. I attended that event as a journalist, the old press pass flopping around my neck, according to this author, and was chagrined to see how the event went down. Guys in Hawaii-style boogaloo shirts were using bullhorns to scream profanities at cops and were pointlessly blocking a road. One of the most prominent organizers told attendees to bring firearms to the event, despite Maryland law prohibiting firearms at protests. This guy obviously isn't a libertarian. He told people on Facebook to show up with their guns anyhow and just walk around pretending not to be part of the demonstration. That guy was full of bluster but never showed up for the protest himself. Almost 10% of the 30 protesters were arrested for firearms or other offenses.
Hang on. Almost 10% means...
3.
Well, no. Almost 10%.
Oh, 2.5?
So, yeah, did they arrest like
half a guy?
two-thirds of a person?
One guy was like under 4'10".
One guy, they like handcuffed him and let him go, so it was like half an arrest.
Maybe he only had one arm, and they could only cuff one. Well, how do you cuff one hand behind a guy?
I don't know.
What is the sound of one hand cuffing?
Yes. He goes on to say, I later heard one of the guys suspected of being a police informant against Lemp was at the rally pretending to demand justice for Duncan Lemp.
Their treachery knows no bounds.
Yeah, this is an example. And I've been asking questions about how come only like a few libertarian media places have reached out to Free Talk Live and, you know, like Mark and the hosts and that kind of a thing. And how come none of the Bitcoin publications have picked up the story on the Crypto 6 and that kind of a thing? And it was pointed out to me that it's because this is happening frequently around the country. The feds are coming after the libertarians. We're not the only ones. And that made a little bit of sense to me. 603-283-6160 if you'd like to join the conversation. Hour number 3 of Free Talk Live on the way.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Everyone's always talking about buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. That's boring as hell. How about earning some Bitcoin? Getting paid with it. That's the way. It is money after all. If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, AnyPay is the way to do it. Your customers will love it. Everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store, and it's just fun. Get our free app and start earning Bitcoin at your business. AnyPayX.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A milestone for President Biden. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. President Biden marks his first 100 days in office this week. Fox's David Sputt reports.
The first 100 days for any president of the United States, significant as it sets the agenda and sets the tone for the rest of the time in office. According to our new Fox News poll, it shows President Biden's numbers when it comes to handling the pandemic. 58% of the people approve of how President Biden has handled COVID-19, 34% disapprove. The lowest number, 34% approve of immigration, whereas 52% disapprove of immigration.
That Fox News poll finds a 54% majority of voters approve of President Biden's job performance. The Biden administration is still struggling to deal with the massive number of migrants crossing the U.S. southern border.
Criminals here along the southern border becoming more and more brazen, stopping at almost nothing to get their cargo across, whether it is drugs or whether it is people. Video now coming to us from U.S. Customs and Border Protection surveillance cameras, night infrared images showing a smuggler using a rope, tossing it across the 30-foot tall wall, then lowering a 2-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy, then 2 adults onto the U.S. side.
Fox's Casey Stego in Laredo, Texas. Brad Keselowski gets his 6th victory at the Talladega Superspeedway.
One car turned in the fence. Keselowski, the leader. To the outside comes McDowell, and Brad Keselowski wins Talladega.
Courtesy of NASCAR on Fox, Keselowski led in only the last lap of the race. William Byron placed 2nd, and Daytona 500 winner Michael McDowell was 3rd. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know that Neil Armstrong learned to fly a plane before he got his driver's license? You would if you watched the series Armstrong on CuriosityStream. Launched by the creator of Discovery Channel, CuriosityStream is the opposite of mindless TV. This is nonfiction entertainment created by award-winning filmmakers, available on any device. Satisfy your curiosity for less than $2 a month at curiositystream.com/Fox. That's curiositystream.com/Fox.
The price of gasoline is another 2 cents higher per gallon than what it was 2 weeks ago. Industry analyst Troby Lundberg of the Lundberg Survey says the national average is now $2.96 a gallon.
The low average in this panel is Baton Rouge at $2.49. The high is San Francisco, $4.04. We have Seattle at $3.50. Denver at $2.89, Long Island at $2.83.
Lundberg says the main reason for the most recent uptick is a rise in both crude oil and ethanol prices. NASA's Ingenuity helicopter sets another record on Mars. Fox's Kathleen Maloney reports.
Ingenuity's third flight on Sunday went faster and farther than the craft has ever gone before, even during testing on Earth. The Mars helicopter rose 16 feet, then zoomed downrange 164 feet, almost half the length of a football field. It reached a top speed of 6.6 feet per second. Ingenuity's team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California calling it nothing short of amazing and saying it demonstrates critical capabilities that will enable the addition of an aerial dimension to future Mars missions. Kathleen Maloney, Fox News.
An airline has banned a state senator from Alaska from flying on its planes.
A spokesman for Alaska Airlines tells a local newspaper Republican State Senator Lori Reinbold can't fly with them because she hasn't been complying with the current mask policy. Last week,
so the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Officials for the Centers for Disease Contraction and Preservation held a press conference urging all Americans to suck on as many doorknobs as possible.
This flu season, the Center for Disease Contraction is recommending that all Americans, regardless of age or health condition, find a doorknob in a high-traffic area, wrap their mouths around it, and vigorously lick and suck it until they contract an illness. We recommend sucking doorknobs covered in a visible film of human hand grease. But the fact is, sucking on any doorknob can increase the likelihood of exposing yourself and your family to deadly pathogens by as much as 450%.
An instructional video released on the CDC's website showcases the proper method for sucking doorknobs while also providing tips for projecting all sneezes and coughs outward, sharing used Kleenexes and toilet paper with as many people as possible, eating 3 meals a day from local garbage cans, and dozens of other easy bacteria-spreading activities.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition. We're the live call-in radio broadcast where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is on your mind. The telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
We've been talking about this article from the Libertarian Institute saying the feds are coming for the Libertarians. And, of course, we've experienced that ourselves here at Free Talk Live with one of the founders and one of our regular hosts who have not been released from prison yet for something about Bitcoin. You can go find the indictment on your magic rectangle in your pocket if you'd like. Just type in indictment and Ian Freeman. And I suggest you go and read it because it says a whole bunch of stuff. None of it sounds like there was any party harmed or any damage to any property. Peaceful interactions.
Well, and peaceful is exactly the problem that they have with this stuff. Because the article mentions how back in the 60s they did all of these things against the left and the anti-war movement, and the anti-war part is the important part of this. Like, if you want to see the single current that always underlines everything that they're doing, it's always targeting the anti-war people.
Oh, yeah. In the coming months and years, this article continues, many libertarians could be indicted not for violent acts against the government, but for unwise or reckless words uttered in proximity to government informants. If you don't know someone like the back of your hand, then you better be damn careful what you say around them. And even if you know a person well, that doesn't oblige you to join them in a leap off a legal cliff. Simply because someone spouts anti-government zeal doesn't make them more trustworthy than a congressman. Claire Wolfe, the author of 101 Things to Do Until the Revolution, wrote an excellent guide to recognizing government informants, which she made available for free online. And you can just type that into your favorite search engine. Again, Claire Wolfe, the author of 101 Things to Do Until the Revolution. Simple prudence can suffice to avoid many tripwires. If some new acquaintance wants to provide you a pipe bomb to help make a statement, he probably isn't a real friend.
And even if he is, that's irrelevant. Don't do it.
Right, yeah. There was a saying among anti-war activists in the 60s and 70s that the person who most fervently advocates violence is likely the undercover government agent.
It's as true today as it was then.
Activists should also recognize the likelihood that they could be surveilled online or in person. Parler was supposed to be a secure alternative to other online venues, but millions of its messages were leaked earlier this year.
Yeah, if you're not using encryption, then it's not between you and that person. And even if you are, it's only as secure as their phone is. If they leave their phone unlocked, you could be on Signal all day long, and anybody can just pick up the phone and look at it.
Yep. The answer here is not to shut up and sure as hell not to cease fighting for your rights and liberties. Friends of freedom need to continue valiantly and peacefully championing their ideas. At some point, more Americans will finally realize the folly of permitting politicians and government agents to capture vast, unchecked power over everyone else. Well, even checked power, I don't think they should have. In the meantime, though, prudent libertarians will avoid writing anything in an email that they don't want to hear read out loud in federal court.
And I think it's worth pointing out, like, if you are preparing for violence that may inevitably head your way, that's one thing. Like, those are the people that are actually human beings and not agents disguising themselves as human beings. Mm-hmm. Now, if, on the other hand, you start planning to start violence, well, number one, you are a bad guy. Number two, you are probably a federal agent.
I don't know that it's possible to start violence against the state because they've started it a while ago, but don't initiate a new particular conflict because we're not ready for that.
Definitely not. I mean, prepare to defend yourself against, well, whatever. I mean, it doesn't, the state, not the state, right? You know, ruckus neighbors, you know, whatever it is, right? There's threats all around at any given time. So preparing yourself to defend yourself is prudent in any situation. You should take personal responsibility to do that. Preparing yourself to go on the offensive is a whole different ball of wax and something that I'm certainly not preparing for. Let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, today, as I've been telling you, today, Sunday, April 25th, is the 15th annual Parental Alienation Awareness Day for those people that are affected. And the reason it was put into effect is because anybody who has not been affected by it doesn't really know what it is. That's why they're having a Parental Alienation Awareness Day every year. And in honor of that, or to mark that, there is I saw a figure of like 17,000 parents directly affected by one person who's keeping track in a Facebook group.
Wow.
And they're having them tell their stories in different venues over this period of time, you know, the couple weeks before, a couple weeks after, to get the message out. So let me mark the day by giving you some anatomy of child trafficking. And all of this is in the court record in case anybody should call me a liar. But in a nutshell, what happened to me is I was, you know, obviously living in a relationship with children, and she decided to leave. And we were passing children back and forth without involving the court for a few months. Mm-hmm. And then she decided to go file a custody case in court. And then she used the temporary ex parte domestic order to tell me that I could no longer have my own children. I could only visit them at a certified visitation place where there's somebody watching you with your own children, even though you've spent years with them, parenting them.
Yep.
And so we're doing that. And then in this agency that we chose, at one of the not-for-profit agencies, community agency, just happened to be staffed by like 6 women and one male. And the male happened to be black, and he happened to be somewhat effeminate. And so, yes, I'm making an allegation there based on the demographic, and use that place to first exchange. And then when my ex wouldn't even let me take my own children, since she's the one that held the ex parte order, because she's the one that paid the filing fee to get the ex parte order, she got to decide until a couple months later, when we would finally be in court in front of a judge for the first time, she got to decide whether I exchange children with her or only got to visit my children at the exchange place. And that's what she was doing to me. And so in the course of the last visit that I had with my children, of the 4 or 5 that I had over a couple week period of time, a month period of time, whatever it was, the exchange place wrote a letter. First of all, they called the judge directly, talked to the judge on the phone, and then they sent a 1-page letter to the judge. And what that letter said was various things to try to make me look crazy, and your listeners, maybe they say, oh yeah, well, you definitely are based on how you talk. But anyway, the point is that they're not qualified to make any diagnosis, and so just because they make a phone call and they send a letter doesn't mean that what they say is so. And so we get into court, and the judge says, "Oh, I have 6 women and a black token that says that there's something wrong with you based on how you interacted with your children during the supervised visit. So you need to go to a psychologist and get your head examined." So not having a lawyer and not knowing any better, I go ahead and go and get that evaluation. And the psychologist makes a recommendation to the court that Mr. Olson needs to take this class and do this counseling and this, and then
make your point quick.
He can visit his children again. Yeah.
Make your point quickly.
That is the point. I'll give you the rest of the story at a later date.
All right, we appreciate the call, David. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us here on Free Talk Live. More is on the way.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by D.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com. Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the live call-in radio talk program where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. The telephone number here in the studio is 603-283-6160. Again, 603-283-6160. I am your host tonight. They call me the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
And I'm going to go to a party. Are you guys going to go to this party? It's called Fork Fest 2021.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got my reservations for the campground just recently. As a matter of fact,
you guys coming up? Oh wait, you're probably
going to be in the hospital about then.
All right. Well, we'll drink one for you.
Okay.
But you listeners out there in radio land and internet land can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th. For Fork Fest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Now, Fork Fest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, but Fork Fest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. I can't think of a better place to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party, where you can connect with other attendees, and you can find the unofficial Telegram chat and an unofficial forum. Again, links to those are all found at forkfest.party. We hope to see you at Forkfest 2021.
And this one promises to be quite a rager.
Yeah, I'm told that the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which is the week before Fork Fest, has sold out. Mm-hmm. And so if people do want to go to some sort of a camping festival, Fork Fest has not yet sold out.
Yeah, I like to go to both of those.
Yes.
And they had, by the time I got there, they had already sold out for 3 days every single camping spot for during the Porcupine Freedom Festival, except for primitive camping, no
like
electric,
tent
no electric, tent sites, no electric, no water. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that decide to stick around for Forkfest this year.
That would be great. And I'm looking forward to it because, well, I had fun last year and I plan to have some fun again this year.
Yeah, if you ever wondered what a peaceful society would actually look like, come experience it for yourself.
Yep. Voluntary people doing voluntary things, all voluntarily. It's a pretty interesting experience. We're going to shift gears a little bit with regards to our stories, but first, let's go to David. David, I forgot. Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm out in San Francisco.
San Francisco, thank you. Yep, I recognize your voice. What's on your mind tonight, David?
Well, it's funny. I don't know if you all... do Libertarians have a position on slavery?
We're against
it. Good, yeah.
We're against all forms of it.
Yeah, good. And so you're familiar with the old company store?
Yes.
And involuntary servitude, where you got to work for a company that has company script, and so the value of their money changes so often that you can never break even.
I sold my soul to the company store.
Sure.
Yep.
So, yeah, now this infrastructure bill that's coming up, well, first of all, the Supreme Court the other day just decided to allow children to be put in prison for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, because they had done the opposite maybe 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, and in fact, it was written by Kavanaugh, who was a drunk when he was a teenager. And in fact, I was friggin' a drunk by the time I was a teenager.
I don't think that they should put anybody under... If you are mature enough to be held accountable for your actions to actually go to jail, then you are mature enough to be allowed to move out, sign contracts, buy property, get a full-time job, and I will die on this hill. If you want to lower the age of majority to 15, then you can arrest 15-year-olds for felonies and put them in jail. I mean, or misdemeanors either.
Right.
If not, then apparently they're children, and children don't go to jail, or they shouldn't.
Well, this was ruling just the other day, 6-3, and everybody on Trump's team voted for this. That no matter, it's like guaranteed, you're in for life. And so when you think about the way that slavery was introduced into America, it was involuntary servitude. And Australia was the same way. They were like prison camps, and they sent everybody to Australia to work off their sentence. Devil's Island was another one that France had.
Yeah, and with minors, you're talking about people who have no ability to walk away. So if there's a conflict they can't handle, they can't just leave. They have no ability to pick their own lawyer. It's illegal for them to work to hire an attorney for their defense. They have no ability to. I mean, it's if their mom says you can't leave the house to go to court, or you can't leave the house to go talk to your attorney, legally the court might be a different issue because there's a subpoena, but legally they can't leave the house unless their parents say to even go talk to the attorney that they do have, who's starting their career as a court-appointed minor attorney.
Mm-hmm.
So it's horrible. Yeah, you're getting on some interesting angles that are additional. Well, where
and these are the people that deserve the most protection. They are the most vulnerable people.
Right, yeah. Well, where I was going to go with this, if you were born in Love Canal, or if you're born in Flint, Michigan, and you're born with bad water or such pollution that you're, radioactive pollution, things like this. And so if you're smart, you have to buy, clean water at an extra high price. And that's where it gets into the company store. And so, Donald Trump and George Bush and a whole pack of other crooked politicians for decades have tried to get rid of all regulations on polluters, that they got the right to poison their own land. They got the right to pollute their own land. They own the land free and clear, and they can do whatever they want on their own land.
Well, that is one of those cases where they broke your leg and they'll sell you the crutch, because what should be happening is that you should be allowed to sue people that cause you damage, and that ought to include environmental damage. But the courts of England decided against that, and then it got passed into our legal tradition that you can't sue for pollution, which is insane.
Right, yeah, exactly. And especially when they invent new chemicals every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were introducing 20,000 new chemicals into the market every year, and the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, or excuse me, the EPA were unable to manage to keep up with all of these new products that are coming in.
Oh yeah.
You know, the sewage departments of the world have got a deal now with all sorts of strange chemicals. And how do you consider stuff clean after, you know, if it's a chemical that's just been brought in, you know, by the shipload? But where I was going to go was this company store. Yeah, well, the company store trap. If you're born into pollution, and then you've got to pay extra to get clean water from the same company that polluted you. And so now it gets into a whole new layer of corporate control of us.
Hey, thanks for the call, David.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. 603-283-6160.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Free Talk Live.
I was watching some videos of you and your crew of cronies on YouTube, and I was shocked at what I saw.
What did you
came off
see
as
that was
a
so
band of
shocking?
Degenerates that were harassing members of your community. I saw you chasing around some traffic lady, parking violation.
The parking attendants, yeah. Okay, so you saw some footage from Robin Hood of Keene where...
There's a whole bunch of that footage out there, and I can assure you, you didn't see me.
That wasn't really a Free Talk Live thing.
Incorrect.
All right, you got me. You got me. Lay it on me, prosecutor. What'd you see?
Incorrect. I would like you to address, are you guys receiving government benefits while you guys are doing this? I think you are.
No.
What would the benefit be?
Incorrect! Incorrect, sir!
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
And we're back. Let's get back to the radio show on air. That's right, it is Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
I don't quite have a Zeus.
Free Talk Live.
I don't quite have the Zeus for that one.
Free
but,
Talk Live. No, that's like Cookie Monster.
Free Talk Live. Cookie.
At any rate, the telephone number here is 603. I don't mean to scare you guys with my demonic Cookie Monster voice.
Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160.
That's really difficult to do, by the way. 603-283-6160 is the telephone number here in the studio. If you would like to join the conversation, we're going to talk about this article from the New York Times. Dozens of inmates at a prison in Iowa are recovering after receiving overdose amounts of the Pfizer vaccine. Speaking of statist oopsies.
Oh, whoops.
I don't imagine that the best nurses go to work for the jails.
Well, I don't imagine that the best anything goes to work for the government. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
if
there's
you
not a
are
whole
the
lot
best,
of private healthcare options.
Okay, before we get too far into talking about this particular subject, I have to say thank you to Craig the Free Stater. He is a silver level amplifier. What does that mean to be an amplifier? Well, that means Craig has joined the AMP program, and you can find out about that over at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote, and that's what an amplifier is. So Craig gives us $5 a month, and that money goes directly towards getting this radio program onto more radio stations. We're currently on somewhere around 200 radio stations, but we could be on more. We could be on 250. We could even be on 300 radio stations. It's all up to you. If you have partaken in Free Talk Live, if you've enjoyed the topics that we've talked about, the hosts, any of the subject matter, if you're a regular listener, please help us spread the message of freedom and consider becoming an amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. Again, thank you to Craig the Free Stater. We appreciate your contribution. All right. So, Iowa State Penitentiary in Fort Madison, Iowa. Apparently dozens of inmates at an Iowa prison were sickened this week after the prison's nurses inadvertently administered overdoses of the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine. An error medical experts fear could erode trust amongst a population already wary of vaccinations. Do you think that would erode trust, guys?
Well, let's see. You are executing inmates without, trial. So we're usually against that. Oh, and the whole... Wait, the vaccine is killing people?
Yeah.
I don't know that most people care what happens to prisoners, so I don't know if this is going to hurt the vaccine that much.
That's a point I hadn't thought about. You're probably right.
That's
Most people
true.
don't care. Oh, they're in prison, whatever. The only thing
That's
they do
true.
care about is that NIMBY part. Not in my backyard. They don't want the prison in their, behind their house or in their neighborhood or whatever. They want it built elsewhere.
That's true. I mean, no one cares, and in frequent cases, they actively encourage the fact that it is absolutely the easiest place on earth to get raped. So since they don't care about prisoners getting raped, they might not care about this either.
It's the most likely place to get raped, too.
Yeah.
At least 77 inmates at the Iowa State Penitentiary in Fort Madison received shots on Tuesday that contained... Okay, guys, don't look.
Too late.
How much? Oh, you already okay.
I looked.
It contained 6 times the recommended dosage.
I would have guessed 10. Or
6
I would have
times.
done
What
the
did they just
cc to
fill
milliliter.
the shot up instead of looking at how much it was supposed to be in there?
I mean, it seems, I don't know how big a shot, like how many, milligrams of fluid or whatever is contained within these things. I have no idea. But it seems like 6 times that amount or any amount would be noticeable by somebody.
6 times of anything is way too much. Like if you ate 6 times if you ate 6 sandwiches instead of 1, if you ate 6 times as much water as you're supposed
If
to
Free
drink in one
Talk
day.
Live was 6 times longer than it is now, 18 hours of programming, you would notice.
You would.
I would notice anyway if I had to sit here for 18 freaking hours. Wow. 6 times the recommended dosage. That's right. The Iowa Department of Corrections said that it had temporarily halted administration of the vaccine at the facility and that 2 nurses had been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. I'm like, no, you fire them. Fire their asses.
Is there a question as to whether they're the nurses that gave these shots?
Oh,
'Cause
maybe.
If not,
Yeah, that's true.
Well, no, I mean, also, so here's one of the issues that is very much clouded by the massive, quote unquote pandemic. We are terrifyingly short of nurses in this country. And that is because of
we
the
have been
governmental
since
systems.
before the pandemic, too.
Oh, yeah.
There was already a shortage of nurses.
Oh, yeah. And this just covers up the fact that we are way short of those and getting shorter. And all of it is because of the government interference with our medical system.
Yeah. In fact, if you're out there and you're considering a career, look into the nursing industry in some way, shape, or form because the demand is high. I'm not an employment expert, but the demand is high, and if you really want a job badly, why you should go where the demand is high. Just my opinion.
Or don't, because they tend to be quite miserable.
Yeah, Cord Overton, that's a person's name, by the way. Cord Overton, a prison spokesman, said that none of the inmates had been hospitalized. Well, it sounds like they have a hospital in the prison, right? But that they were suffering from ailments consistent with people who had adverse reactions to the vaccine, including body aches and low-grade fever.
Wait, you mean if I inject 6 times the amount of something that I should, it might not go well?
like if I eat 6 times the daily amount of vitamin C, I might get sick. Like,
right?
This is ridiculous.
If I drank 6 times the Jameson that I'm used to drinking, I might get 6 times as drunk.
I don't know how much you're used to drinking, but for some people that would kill them.
Although,
that's true.
Just for the record, with vitamin C, that's actually not true. You can very easily do 10 times and not notice. Just saying, in that particular case. But
well, it's water soluble, but that doesn't mean that you will always dispose of the excess no matter what.
That's true. I'm just saying, like 1,000% of your daily value of your daily recommended value
And
is
not
gonna...
according to the FDA, but like how much you should actually be taking.
This next sentence or so brings to mind a question, and that is that are inmates given the choice to get vaccinated?
No.
It depends on. I've actually heard, because I'm in the unfortunate position to have a small anecdotal sample. It depends on what jail they're in.
Yeah.
And then it's a spectrum of voluntariness. It's like, hey, do you want this? Yes or no? Or hey, you're gonna get this? Or it's like, well, hey, do you want this? But if you don't,
then you get put in the hole.
So this goes on to say, while prison inmates in most states have begun to receive vaccinations, the hesitancy rate among both incarcerated people and prison guards is a concern for public health officials. In Pennsylvania, for example, as many as 75% of correctional staff and 45% of inmates have not yet been inoculated despite the availability of the vaccine. Public health experts fear that given the reluctance to get inoculated, outbreaks in correctional facilities might continue well after much of the rest of society has been vaccinated, creating islands of infection. Now,
wow, shocker. We're going to lock these people in a confined space breathing on top of each other.
They've been talking about this since the beginning of the coronavirus. about prison, right? Like they let some people out of prisons because they didn't want the prisons to be too overpopulated when it got hit, right? But to my knowledge, this might be the largest coronavirus related thing that's happened in a prison. I'm not sure.
Good point.
603-283-6160 is the telephone number if you'd like to join us here on Free Talk Live. We've got more program coming up for you after this.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yes, it's the final segment here at Free Talk Live. We'll get to your calls and your thoughts momentarily. You're probably not going to get on the air, but in the future, if you need the telephone number, it's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Melanie.
We've been talking about this article from the New York Times where apparently dozens of inmates at a prison in Iowa are recovering after receiving 6 times the amount of Pfizer vaccine than they were supposed to receive. So they were overdosed with vaccine while they're in prison. Jamie Meyer, an associate professor at the Yale School of Medicine, said dosing errors involving the Pfizer vaccine had been rare. She said that medical care at prisons presented particular problems because of inadequate staffing.
That doesn't make sense.
How so?
If you have a line of 100 people, you go through the line slower. You don't give the improper dose.
Oh, you know what? We've got way more of this vaccine than we got prisoners. Let's give them 6 times the recommended dose. Yeah, I don't know how I don't know.
But don't you understand how imperative it is that they get this vaccine today?
When there's a single nurse practitioner who's meant to take care of thousands of patients, they often don't have the same levels of support you would elsewhere, Dr. Meyer said.
Do you need support to measure a shot? If so, you shouldn't be a nurse.
Or a bartender. We could talk a little bit more about this, but let's go to John, who's calling from California. John, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, what's up?
Not much, man. What's on your mind?
Okay, so if you lose me, I'm going into a dead zone. But you're talking about people giving doses, and yeah, it happened out here in California where somebody got. There were like 30 people that got no dose. I don't even know how it works. I got a shot. I don't know if you have to mix it with water or what.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had to recall 30 vaccinations where they actually didn't get a vaccine. So, you know, I was like, well, what the hell did they give them?
Yeah, what did they inject into you then?
What's that?
Well, yeah, then what did they inject into you then?
Right. I didn't. I wasn't one of them. I don't think. I got my shot, but this happened in the news sometime around that time.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to get to is with everybody, and I don't know what it is, but nobody wants to work right now. Nobody wants to go to work. You don't have anybody applying for jobs. I'm in 2 fields. I'm in 2 industries. We can't hire people. So you know what you're getting? You're getting people you wouldn't normally hire.
Right.
Yeah, I know McDonald's just got in trouble because they had a sign saying that nobody wants to work.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yep. We apologize, but we can't hire people because they don't seem to want to work.
How did they get in trouble? Like, is that illegal in wherever that
I
was?
think there was just some bad press about it or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what do you expect when you give people money for nothing?
I mean, I would guess it's probably not malicious and intentional. I mean, how the hell are you going to get away from that? But at the same time, I know what I'm talking about when I say we can't hire people out here.
Yeah.
I've got, I'm literally missing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month right now just because I can't hire people. And every industry is in the same boat. We're all panicking. We don't know what to do. Prices are going up.
Yeah, it's a conundrum too, because this situation was created, of course, by the extensions on unemployment, the bump in pay during the pandemic, quote unquote, the stimulus checks, et cetera, and so on. And so people are comfortable now at home collecting their money and have zero incentive to go out and find work. Thanks for the call tonight, John. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I tell you what I would do if I had a business of my own right now. Close. Because they will do everything in their... Like, this is the beginning. This is not getting better. They are going to keep doing everything in their power to destroy every business that they haven't handpicked because of their loyalty. Amazon's going to stay. Facebook is going to stay. But your shop, close and get stock at Amazon. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I would be torn if I owned a business. Like, I was considering opening a business pre we'll call it pre-COVID. I don't know what else to refer to it as, pre-government overreaction to this thing called COVID, which is a far more accurate statement. I was considering starting a business. And so I was sort of in that wonder stage, like, oh, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this, or I could, I had just this, your mind's wide open. You're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so let me investigate a bunch of stuff, right? And so I started making lists of things that I thought might make some sense. And then this whole thing kicked in, and I was like, okay, well, I can't do this one because these things are closed and everybody's locked down. And I can't do this one because, well, these things are closed. And I can't do this one because, well, I'm not Amazon or Walmart or McDonald's or any of the, the big businesses that were allowed, quote unquote, to remain open. Yeah, essential. So, and then now, and that was back when it was like only 2 weeks to flatten the curve, guys, a year and more ago, year and a month, year and 2 months, whatever it's been. And so now that we're, this far forward in the future, I just don't see any reason to start a business at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is a very hostile environment for creating businesses. Yeah. And even the ones that exist, it's still a hostile environment for them. I mean, if you wanted to target businesses, to destroy every small and medium-sized business in America, I can't think of a better way to do it.
Well, they've certainly gone about doing it. I mean, it's done. Many, many businesses have closed and will remain closed. And even those that might remain open, like this caller who just called in, they're very reluctant to, I would, the business he's missing out on is just because he can't hire enough people. So where did all the workers go?
Well, I mean, two things. Number one, you are scaring the ever-loving bejesus out of all of them over something that has a less than 1% death rate, especially for people in working ages.
I mean, it's
Number
also,
two, you are... sorry, go ahead.
It's also the case that if you can't find enough of employees, one of two things is true. There just aren't people on the planet who are qualified to do the job, and that's not usually the case. But there is a market price at which you could hire people to do what you want them to do. So...
But you can't afford it anymore.
Yeah, but so if there's...
Well, and that's the thing. So number one, people are scared.
Yep.
Number two, there are plenty of people who are being paid to stay home.
That's true.
So if you pay people to do nothing, you're going to get a lot more of people doing nothing.
I believe there's a term for that. Isn't it called socialism? Is that the right term? Am I thinking the right term? Is that?
Well, socialism, they always talk about is defined as government control over the means of production.
Oh,
and I always thought that they would take control and run it poorly.
Yeah.
I never thought before the lockdown that they would take control and just not run it.
And not run it at all. Just like, whatever.
So is that still control of the means of production? Because
yes,
they took control of it.
I
guess we could debate that.
Yeah,
I'd have to ask a socialist maybe.
I have control of my phone, which means I can turn it off. It also means I can do what I want with it, but I can turn it off. And they took control of the means of production and put them to a grinding halt. So yeah, there is a price at which you can get enough people to do your job, but you can't afford it.
Right, because you can't afford to jack up your prices so high to afford to hire those employees to do the job, because whoever you're selling to is going to be like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and up until October, if you have any excuse whatsoever that's related to COVID, you just get paid for unemployment to sit at home. So why on earth would people want to work instead of sit at home if they get paid the same?
Yeah.
So you are competing with the government on prices.
You're always doing that, though, because there's always government jobs that you could go to and sit there and do mostly nothing. You have to show up. And yes, that skews the market, but I don't know. A lot of people act like they are entitled to have other people's labor at a price that they feel like paying for it. And I feel like that's some of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Well, we are entitled to a market at which these corrections can be made, and that we are not getting because they are printing this into oblivion and paying people to do nothing.
Yeah, they've, what was it, 2 trillion, 2 trillion, 2.9 trillion, another 2 trillion. There's another thing up for like almost 3 trillion coming up.
You know, the inflation just means that the prices of most things will rise, and that includes labor.
You think they've sort of implemented like UBI in a way with all these people getting paid at home and doing nothing?
They're trying to get as close to that as they can.
And to get people to call out for it.
We're out of time. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're live 7 nights a week, Monday through Friday. Thanks and peace.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Pledging to help India. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News.